Hi everyone. Well, I guess today is awkward angle theater. I just felt like lying down on the job when I did this one. Oop. Might slide around a bit. There we go. Yeah. Anyways, there we go. This one, very recently, I found myself just sitting and staring at things, not really thinking, not in a fugue, just in a gray space is the only way I can describe it. And as I've been considering this, occurred to me it's part of both transition and in just my healing from my other issues in general. And a lot of times you don't hear people talking about this. No one mentions it, particularly in transition. They talk about how it starts and the physical parts and the changes you go through. And they talk about how it never quite stops and that you're going to be dealing with it forever. That was my cat trying to leap through everything again. Anyways, the cat will be showing up, I'm sure, very soon. Now, oh, as I was saying, the issue is this. No one's talking about the fact that you have a gender identity that likely you've been working with at least outwardly, your entire life. Meaning, at least until transition, of course. Meaning this identity is who the world knows, and in a lot of ways, how you know to interact with the world. But by default. And you've had this for years. I mean, many of us, 10, like more than 10, 20, 30, 33, 40, 80 in one case I've heard of. You spend all that time in an identity that's not yours, but is socially acceptable. And really, in most cases, the only way to go, especially if you haven't, realized your nature. How do you, okay, a lot of people, it's like, I'm a husband or I'm a wife. I have to keep on going in this persona, no matter how I really feel. So you don't build a persona entirely as your true gender. Now think about that. This means you've never fully been a man or a woman socially. And you're changing yourself, to become both inwardly, outwardly, socially, emotionally, all that, a man or a woman. This requires you, there's a deconstruction that you have to go through. And it's kind of, I would almost call it worse than the normal transition period of like when you're young from the, adolescence. And I use that term because, we do go through something similar with the hormones and how it affects the way we think and such. But it's also a little worse because when you're an adolescent, you might, okay, I don't like this, okay, I don't like that, but you're creating, you're building something up. Your brain patterns are finally forming, bits of you are, becoming what likely they're going to be for your whole life. Then you decide to transition. And the hormones and other things start shifting the brainwave patterns. But you already have a set pattern in many ways to your life. You might you have some male or female wirings that have been there for maybe decades. You have you've been socialized in the gender you're not comfortable with, in your false gender. Now, this means that during this, when you're changing over during the major parts of transition, you're deconstructing yourself. You're taking apart a person, or a person you thought you were, in order to build someone new. I had Jennifer for maybe a year and a half before I finally came out and began real transition. You get a little. I practiced. I tried to see how I could mix, but there was no way of really knowing until you do it. And so, when you're doing it, you're relearning all these things. You're rewiring yourself, and there comes a point, and it's something people don't talk about, probably because I guess it's a private thing, and well, I'm not very good at privacy. So, at least for myself, I'm very private for other people, secrets, all that. Not that you guys need to know that. Anyways, the point that I'm not quite getting to is that we hit a gray space. Like I said, the gray space, a place where it's not that it's quite in between. You've taken apart yourself. You've removed the pieces. And there comes this point where you realize you've swept away, oh, all that other gender. Your memories are there, your experiences, you've still lived those years. It's still happened, but that person is gone. There's nothing left of them that you have managed to deconstruct the false gender that you were. You might know how to fake it, but it's gone. And in doing so, you've removed pieces of your personality, almost set them aside. So maybe you can figure, for later, the parts you want to keep. And then you realize you don't have blueprints. There's a you here somewhere. And it's freeing. And it's also very scary, very... Okay, the next door neighbors are being noisy. They're very scary. It's very... I'm going to erase that bit because I got distracted. As I was saying, it's not very scary. Ugh, I hate when that happens. It's very confusing. It's confusing in that way that later you'll say was enlightening. Because you don't have yourself in the same way. You have to rebuild somebody. And it's a little more conscious than, as I said, if you just went through adolescence normally and built your personality. And so the things that worked don't always. Your coping mechanisms shift because meanings are different. Hey, kitty. The meaning of things, what something is to you, is different. Your brain patterns. They're different. Your body is really different. And then you're doing likely major physical things to yourself, huge surgeries, life-altering decisions. You know, you're. I mean, in all of this, sometimes I think we forget that that not only are we removing and changing and putting it, adding to and whatever else to our bodies, we're doing that to our minds and to our souls. And you end up, and there is a point you're in between. And not just like the transition thing, you're simply there. And you realize it's time to start building a person. Who are you going to be? What will you be when you grow up? It comes down to that. I've had a strange time lately realizing that I have hit that point. My artwork isn't really flowing because the channels aren't there yet. I'm still building a place for my artwork to be. I don't know a lot of my own opinions anymore. My habits are different, but they haven't fully reestablished themselves. Who I will be is going to be very different in a year, or even just 6 months from now, or even just 3, probably. All that will change radically, probably. Hey, kitty. Because, I've chosen transition. And all of us do that, there is the gray space. It's not a bad place to be. It means things are going wonderfully, and it's freeing. Because you don't have the baggage. But it's like walking into a new house. It's empty. It's big. It echoes. You're going to have to figure out where you're going to put the drapes, if you like the kitchen where it is, if you have to work on some plumbing, if you know what I mean, and all that. And in the case of trans people, let's face it, when we move into the new house, it's a fixer-upper. There's a lot of things to do. But we all knew it going in. And the really fun part is just when the burden of who you were isn't there, you can take a little bit of time to find out who you're going to be. It's a great journey. It's odd. And it's unique to us. There isn't any other experience like it. It's a rebirth on a level that I think the closest you could ever get to is if you had died and had a near-death experience. Then maybe you would have something similar transformative. Other than that, I can't think of anything. So, from the gray space, I love you all. Bye.